Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And always glad to welcome in from Assumption Parish Sheriff's Office, Commander Lonnie Cavalier. Commander, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Keith, good morning to you all, and thank you all for having us.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. All right, let's run through. We got our first one, Mr. Carlin Peter Goday. Tell us what happened there.
Yes, Carlin Peter Goday, 43 of 2533 Lee Drive, Pierre Park, Louisiana, was arrested on felony domestic charges arising from an incident in Pierre Park. On January 21st, 2025, deputies responded to a welfare concern complaint of a female who may have been the victim of a domestic abuse incident. Deputies made contact with the female victim and conducted an interview of her. Deputies determined that days prior, Carlin Peter Goday physically attacked the victim, which resulted in the need of medical attention. Deputies further determined that the victim and the suspect had previously been in a domestic relationship and had previously been estranged. At the conclusion of the investigation, deputies secured arrest warrants for the arrest of Carlin Peter Goday. On January 23rd, Carlin Peter Goday was arrested at his residence in Pierre Park and booked into the Assumption Parish Detention Center on charges of domestic abuse, battery involving strangulation. Carlin Peter Goday remains incarcerated with bond set at $100,000. He is also being held on a probation violation and has been ordered held without bond, and that is from a previous drug conviction.
Wow. Thank you very much. Let's talk about this traffic complaint of Gabriel Francis Randall.
Gabriel Francis Randall, 22 of 163 Angel Street, Bayou, Louisiana, was arrested on multiple felony charges arising from a traffic incident near the aforementioned address. Narcotics officers on assignment responded to a complaint of vehicles obstructing traffic in the area. Deputies and agents arrived on scene and did observe vehicles to be parked on the roadway, causing an undue risk to the motoring public. Deputies made contact with a male subject now identified as Gabriel Francis Randall, who acknowledged ownership of one of the vehicles. As Randall retrieved paperwork pertaining to the vehicles, deputies observed multiple containers holding suspected marijuana, as well as other forms of suspected marijuana. Deputies observed assorted drug paraphernalia and a handgun in plain view and seized the same. Gabriel Francis Randall was arrested. Deputies then made contact with the owner of the second vehicle improperly parked, who is now identified as Katie Leah Bro, 39, also on 163 Angel Street, Bayou. Upon interviewing Bro, deputies and agents determined that Gabriel Francis Randall was an occupant residing in Bro's home. During a consent to search for an open area floor plan, agents and deputies located additional firearms. Gabriel Francis Randall was booked into the Assumption Parish Jail on charges of possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, possession of firearms in the presence of controlled dangerous substances, possession of drug paraphernalia, vehicle illegally parked in roadway. Gabriel Francis Randall remains incarcerated with bond set at $50,000. Katie Leah Bro was issued a misdemeanor traffic citation for a vehicle illegally parked in the roadway, and Bro was issued a court date and was released.
Some interesting things happening there. And so now we have one with a gun law violation and a DWI. Tell us about Mr. Sylvester.
Mr. Eric Michael Sylvester Jr., 33 of 134 Frank Lane, Napoleonville, and Troy Anthony Patrick, 43 of 100 French Lane, Napoleonville, were both arrested on DWI charges arising from a traffic accident on Highway 400. Deputies responded to a call for service related to a vehicle accident in the LA 400 area near Back Maury Road, south of Napoleonville. Upon arrival, deputies made contact with both drivers, and both indicated signs of alcohol consumption. The drivers were identified as Eric Michael Sylvester Jr. and Troy Anthony Patrick. At the conclusion of the investigation, both drivers were arrested and transported to the detention center and underwent intoxicological tests, of whom which both failed. Eric Michael Sylvester Jr. was booked and incarcerated on charges of DWI, driving under a suspended license, possession of a firearm, or carrying a concealed weapon by a person convicted of domestic abuse battery, and possession of alcoholic beverages in a motor vehicle. He was released after posting a $35,000 commercial bond. Troy Anthony Patrick booked on charges of DWI first offense, driving under a suspended license, possession of alcoholic beverages in a motor vehicle. He was released after posting a $5,000 commercial bond.
Wow, very interesting. You know, people that make that bad decision, very often you may literally run into somebody who's also driving and has made a bad decision to drink and drive. It looks like both of these gentlemen, thank God they didn't hit somebody else.
Yes, and Mr. Sylvester actually had to be transported to the hospital because his blood alcohol level was over 0.30, which requires mandatory medical attention.
Yeah, and so I got to tell you, just one of those things where we never know, you know, and police officers, sheriff's officers talk about it all the time. You never know what you're going to get on a routine traffic stop or a routine accident. We can have these kinds of situations where they have guns in the car, those kinds of things. Commander, we thank you so very much for what you guys do, for what the team does, and for getting these individuals off the streets and hopefully making a difference for them and not causing more incidents and accidents this way.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate y'all having us.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you. Hang in there. Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Again, Commander Lana Cavalier with Assumption Parish Sheriff's Office. Appreciate their time as always. All right, guys, we're going to take another break. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more Bayou time when we continue.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.